Welcome to another episode of Conservation Conversations. My name is John Kinghorn, and we are coming at you live from Johannesburg. Of course, now Conservation Conversations is available on all these incredible platforms, and we obviously encourage everybody to please go and like and subscribe. We have over 160 episodes recorded and available on YouTube. And these are obviously all free. So if you feel the need to support and contribute, we would greatly appreciate it. You're more than welcome to scan the QR code currently displayed on your screen. Alternatively, to visit the BirdLife South Africa website and the Conservation Conversations tab specifically. Of course, we would love to hear how you enjoy these conservation conversations. So please make sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts and to share just how much you enjoy these webinars. Now, just an insight into some of the upcoming webinars that we have planned, some really exciting things, one of which is Lorinda Hart on the 1st of October. Christine is going to be hosting that one, and that is Birds and Agrochemicals. Jessica Wilmot on the 15th of October, Migration and Migratory Birds, and Sage Naidu, Culture ES Survey on the 29th of October. Then, of course, you may have seen on some of our channels, our newsletters, we encourage everybody to please head over and support the declaration for the Tim Tilden Davis Nature Reserve. And you can have a look. There will be details on our website. And of course, you can scan the QR code currently available on your screen. It takes all of a minute or two to sign this, and we would greatly appreciate any support thereof. Of course, we encourage everybody to become a member of BirdLife South Africa. So please ensure to do so if you have not done already. But back onto tonight's speakers, and it is an absolute privilege for me to introduce to you all our speakers for the evening. We have three who are going to be joining us, John Gibbs, Samantha Ralston-Paton, and Clarissa Mars, each of which are going to be talking to the incredible topic and very relevant topic of renewable energy this evening, specifically shutdown on demand. John Gibbs joined BirdLife South Africa in July of 2024 as project lead on the Birds and Renewable Energy Mitigation Project, having previously worked on the development of utility scale renewable energy in South Africa. He's based at Johannesburg and is our Birds and Renewable Energy Project leader here at BirdLife South Africa. Samantha Ralston-Paton is our Birds and Renewable Energy Project Manager at BirdLife South Africa. And she has an MSc degree in conservation biology and has been actively supporting a nature-friendly transition to renewable energy for over 10 years. Sam is passionate about environmental sustainability and enjoys challenging herself and other people to have a more positive impact on the planet. Clarissa Mars is the Senior Biodiversity Team Leader at NG. Clarissa is a major renewable energy developer active within South Africa. And Clarissa has particular responsibility for the management of NG's shutdown on demand programs as the Excelsior and Golden Valley wind farms in the Western and Eastern Cape, respectively. A very insightful discussion, no doubt, is going to be taking place this evening. And I think I speak on behalf of everybody who's joined this webinar that we look forward to hearing what everybody has to say between Sam, Clarissa, and John. So without further ado, let me see. Sam, can you hear me loud and clear?
Indeed, I can. Should I share my screen?
Please, that would be amazing.
So yeah, I'm Sam Ralston-Paton. I am BirdLife South Africa's Birds and Renewable Energy Project Manager. And I'm really just going to speak for a few minutes to set the scene so you understand how shutdown on demand fits into the broader context of protecting South Africa's birds at wind farms. I'm sure we all know that wind energy is a very valuable and is blessed with some phenomenal wind energy. We do have some challenges with grid access, but we're not going to go into that now. But the big challenge, the problem in South Africa is that threatened species of conservation concern are at risk of being killed by the turbine blades. In fact, in a review that I'm busy with at the moment, 82% of the operational wind farms in South Africa have caused a fatality of at least one species of conservation concern. And the handful of projects that haven't are either really small wind farms with just a couple of turbines, or they have not been monitoring very long. So we anticipate that this is a very widespread problem at South African wind farms. We've got over 202 species, different species that have been recorded as fatalities at wind farms in South Africa. Obviously, not all species are equal. The ones that we're most concerned about at the moment include the rose eagle, martial eagle, Cape vulture, white-backed vulture, black harrier, secretary bird, and jackal buzzard. But as we will see when we move into different parts of the country, that list of species we're most concerned about is almost certainly going to change. And what's really concerning is that although we still at the really beginnings of what I see as a massive boon in the amount of wind energy in South Africa, the fatality rates for some species, for example, black harrier, are already at unsustainable levels, to a point where if they continue, we are going to drive that species to extinction within 100 years. So we have a real problem on our hands. So what can we do about it? Well, BirdLife South Africa's Birds and Renewable Energy project, we've got multiple things on the go. One of the things is a review of the operational phase monitoring reports that most wind farms in South Africa do to get a nice overview of what's actually happening. We promote relevant research. We develop policy and guidelines. We try to promote evidence-based decisions, particularly in the planning and impact assessment processes. And importantly, we share lessons learned as quickly as possible so we can improve things as quickly as possible. We've got a whole suite of resources, so please do visit our website where you can download those. So what are the solutions? The most effective and cost-effective thing that we can do is put wind farms in the right place. And by this, we mean we don't want to see wind farms right next to a vulture colony, for example. But once you've got the broad location of a wind farm correct, you can still minimize impacts by placing the turbines away from areas where our priority species are going to be moving regularly. So although we like to phrase this as avoidance, I think in reality in South Africa, it's more about minimizing the risk. Aside from the location of wind farms and wind turbines, there's a whole bunch of quite exciting work that's being done. One promising option is patterning turbine blades to make them more visible to the birds. It's still quite a novel mitigation measure that needs to be tested, and BirdLife South Africa has some guidelines almost ready to be released together with the South African Wind Energy Association to try and promote appropriate designs. And we've been working quite closely with the Civil Aviation Authority. Then there's managing food resources. A lot of wind farms that are operational near vultures make sure that the landowners remove animal carcasses as promptly as possible. And then there's the topic that we're going to be talking about today, which is shutdown on demand. This is essentially stopping the turbines from rotating when birds of conservation concern are close to the turbines. And I've got to say, it's been phenomenal to see things progress in South Africa. 5-10 years ago, shutdown on demand was known as a potential solution, but it was shut down very quickly by most developers as something that wasn't feasible, it wasn't cost effective. And it's really thanks to people like Clarissa and her phenomenal colleague, Libby Hershen, who took this on and have really not only implemented it, but have been all hands on deck in terms of sharing the lessons learned. So I'm really excited to hear what Clarissa has to say. And before I hand over to her, I just want to mention that BirdLife South Africa does have a handbook on shutdown on demand that is coming soon. And this is largely going to be drawing on lessons learned at Excelsior Wind Farm and other facilities elsewhere in the world. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Clarissa, who I'm sure is just going to blow you away with her passion and enthusiasm. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. That's really insightful, and we really appreciate that. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of people who have expressed their interest to me prior to having signed up for this webinar that they would love to see that handbook as well. So, I think there's a lot of eager people waiting. Clarissa, are you there? Perhaps we could start with sharing your screen.
Yes, I'm here.
Welcome,
Hi,
welcome.
everyone.
Conservation Conversations debut.
Okay, let me just quickly.
Whilst Clarissa loads her screen, I just want to encourage everybody to, Clarissa, we can see your screen. Thank you very much. I'd just like to encourage everybody, all the participants this evening, all 324 of you. Can you believe it? What an incredible turnout this evening. Just to make sure to drop us your Q&As in the Q&A box at the end of Clarissa's presentation. We're going to have a really insightful discussion between Sam, John, and Clarissa. So any Q&As, drop them in the Q&A box, and we can do our best to get through to them. Clarissa, without further ado, over to you.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Clarissa Mars, and I will be presenting what shutdown demand is and how it is on the ground. I just want to start by saying thank you, BirdLife South Africa, for this awesome opportunity where I can share to you all what my team's been doing throughout the years. Just a quick background of myself. I started as a biodiversity monitor supervisor and got promoted as the senior biodiversity team lead. And I've been running this program since 2020. So this mitigation is honestly a passion to me, as I'm a conservationist by heart and by paper. So technically my blood is green. So I am honored that I actually get paid every month to do something that I love doing, and that's to protect species to the best of my ability. Righty. So the contents of the presentation, I'm just going to give a brief explanation. Thank you, Sam, for giving some info of what shutdown demand is, but I'm just going to go in detail. Secondly, will be the application of shutdown demand in our wind farms, shutdown demand in practice, the result to date, training for the program, and lastly, key considerations and challenges. So underneath here, this is the species that we protect. So we have the white storks, the blue crane, black harrier, following the Cape vulture, second last, the Ferox's eagle, and lastly, Marshall eagle. So what is observer-led shutdown demand? It's in-flight monitoring undertaken by observers who interact with the control room operators to implement a shutdown of individual turbines whenever a priority bird species fly into risk zone or at risk height. So from ground level until the nacelle, that's 90 meters above ground level. And when the blade is upwards, it's 150 meters. So that is risk height. Observers stationed at the observation points from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m., 7 days a week, undertaken in shifts. 1 to 2 observers per observation point, depending on the amount of monitors on site. Observation only ceases in severe weather conditions, in poor visibility, rain, thunder, high wind speeds, or if their health and safety is at risk. Observers communicate with the control room when priority species are within a certain distance of the turbines, and operators shut down the turbines based on instructions from my team. Once a bird has passed, observers call the operators to start up the turbine again, and all shutdowns and near misses are recorded. So underneath here is just a small scale of how the shutdown protocol works. So the yellow zone is when a priority bird species, example, a Cape vulture, is 3 kilometers away from a particular wind turbine. So the monitor will just check what the bird is doing, check the flight behavior. Whenever the bird goes to the orange zone, which is warning, that's 2 kilometers away from the turbine, then they will inform the control room to be on standby. Once that species moves, what's going on here? Let's pause. You're doing too much. Once the species go into the red zone, that will be an instant shutdown. Okay, so NG Wind Farms and Shutdown Demand. So NG is committed to full implementation of shutdown demand at our existing wind farms. This is part of our commitment to no net loss or net gain in priority species, identified through the critical habitat assessments as incorporated into biodiversity action plans for each site. Our BAPs also contain a number of net gain / conservation activities for the priority species, which we implement with conservation partners. So Excelsior, where I'm based, is 32 megawatt wind farm in Swellendam, 13 turbines. COD started the 24th of December 2020, 9 monitors plus myself, and there's 3 observation points. And the species that we protect is the Cape vulture, black harrier, Ferox's eagle, martial eagle, white stork, and blue crane. In Golden Valley is 120 megawatt wind farm based in the Eastern Cape with 48 turbines. Pilot phase started the 3rd of May 2020. Full implementation started in September 2023 with 17 monitors plus 1 supervisor. There's 9 observation points and also protecting the Cape vulture, black harrier, Ferox's eagle, martial eagle, and blue crane, except the white stork. So, apologies. The shutdown demand practice at Excelsior. So we started in December 2020. In 2020, but the team was already in place for the protocol. Extensive training and capacity building undertaken during construction phase so that the team was shutdown demand ready. Required buy-in and training of contractor operators who are tasked with shutting down turbines upon instructions. So this is my home. This is where I'm based. And I just want to say a lot is going on here. Where can I pause? A lot is going on at Excelsior. Why is my PowerPoint doing this? Excelsior is based on agriculture lands. It's surrounded by renosterveld patches. So that means there's lots of yumminess in the field for my raptors. Also, it's 30 kilometers away from a breeding colony for the Cape vulture, the whoop, and also 5.5 kilometers from a breeding habitat, black harriers, Horesu. So yes, my people, a lot is going on at the moment, and yes, I'm under lots of stress, but we are here for the birds. We're going to move swiftly on to what's going on at the observation points. So the shutdowns for observation points in COD, at vantage point 1, which is the section on top, vantage point 1 or observation point 1 covers turbine 9 till 13. And since 2020, there have been 435 shutdowns. Observation 2 covering from turbine 5 until 8, with a total of 210 shutdowns. Then moving to the last one with the most shutdowns since 2020, 726 shutdowns. 60% of the shutdowns is mostly for the black harrier, following the Cape vulture. And on top here, this is my team at Excelsior. So Excelsior, the data and lessons. So we have observed trends and patterns over 44 months of implementation, and as well some lessons learned to help improve and amend this protocol. So throughout the years, we discover most active season is during the spring and summer season, also during harvesting season. As I mentioned, Excelsior is based on agriculture lands. So harvest season normally starts end of September until November, depending on farm management. On another side note, during the spring and summer season, that's mostly when breeding happens. So for the blue cranes, it's normally from August until April, lots of movements throughout the site. There's 3 pairs of blue cranes currently on site, close to turbine 4, turbine 13, and 8. My beloved black harriers. Peak breeding is normally from September until November, but there is some breeding happening during winter, so from July until November. Also, we have some activities from the Cape Vulture. There's lambing season happening from November until December, and there will be lots of spottings of the Cape Vulture scavenging, looking for carcasses. But unfortunately for them, my team in the farm management, we took quick for them so they can eat somewhere else. And lastly, the white stork. The white stork normally comes and visit Excelsior during February, Jan, and normally December, Jan and February, apologies. And they just come here to enjoy the warm South Africa weather. I don't know why they come to Excelsior. Maybe they want to be excited. I don't know. But they normally here every second year. So on the top graph, I'm going to explain the data from 2021 until 2023. As you guys can see, normally September until November, that's the peak. That's where most of the shutdowns happening. If you check January 2022 and January 2023, the most activities is for the white stork. As I mentioned earlier, the white storks do visit site every second year. As you guys can see, by January 2023, there wasn't so many activities from the white storks. So let's move to 2024. Guys, this year's been hearing. I don't know what's going on. I don't think I got a memo from the birds, but as you guys can see from the columns, a lot is happening at Excelsior. Until to date, I'm asking myself, guys, I don't know which side I must go. So as you can see, let's move to Jan 2024 and May 2024. So you all are wondering, why is May 2024 the same as Jan, but the other years, they all small, living their best life? I also ask myself the same question. Trust me, the birds, they are confusing me every day, but I'm here for them no matter what. So comparing to the previous years, in 2021, there were 2021 May, there were 27 shutdowns, which were 23 for the Cape Vulture and 3 for Black Harrier. Let's move to 2022 May. There were only 9 shutdowns, 1 for Cape Vulture and 8 for Black Harrier. Then let's move to May 2023, only 1 shutdown, and that was for a blue crane. So what is happening in May 2024? I know everyone is asking. There, guys, I'm crying myself to sleep every night, mind you. I'm sharing my heart on this platform. So in 2024 May, there were 114 shutdowns for just 1 bird species, and that is, my people, for a black harrier. So there were a major influx of black harriers into the Overberg region, most likely because of the summer rains resulting to mouse populations, and the black harriers do respond very strongly to it. So my team is currently checking for any possibilities of breeding. I'm saying it softly because if there is a possibility of breeding, guys, you will see my funeral pamphlet somewhere on the internet. Okay, so they're checking if there's any possibility of breeding, looking to find any suitable nest. I also tell my team they have to check if the birds is carrying any prey, if they're doing any birds displaying. So with the black harrier, they do the U-shaped diving. And also if the birds repeatedly going to the same patch. It's still ongoing, but for now, we are not seeing any of those displaying, but there is a pair flying around at Excelsior till today. So let's move on to the bottom left graph. So that's the number of shutdown species. So since 2020, December, for the black harrier, there was 608. The Cape Vulture, 459. The Blue Crane, 147. Ferox's Eagle, 12. White Stork, 140. And the Marshall Eagle, just 5. And that's what I love about the Ferox Eagle and the Marshall Eagle. They can see danger from a distance. But my other 4 people, my beloved animals, they love in fear factor and they want to be on site, but I will protect them with my team. Let's move to the right bottom graph. So the number of shutdowns per year. I don't want to bore you guys with all the statistics, but I believe that is very important. So the number of shutdowns per year in 2021, there were 203. 2022, 402. And for 2022, for 2023, there were 220. And from Jan until August, there were 546 shutdowns. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you guys what the migratory flocks, white storks, are doing during their vacation at Excelsior. This video was taken in January 2022. Can you guys just put in the chat box if you can see any of these videos? Okay. I'm just gonna play it again. Okay, cool. So that was the white storks having vacation at Excelsior. Okay. And also there were no fatality of this particular species. Next one, let me introduce to you my beloved, the one and only, my biggest stress, and the most unpredictable black harrier. This was taken at vantage point 3. I'm gonna play it again. So the black harrier was soaring around and passed by turbine 1. It was shut down. And it takes 43 seconds for a turbine to shut down it. Okay. Alrighty, let's move to the Eastern Cape. So Golden Valley was not identified as a critical habitat for any species. So shutdown demand was not built in from the beginning of COD. However, after a Cape vulture fatality and a success of the Excelsior program, we actually decided to implement it there too. So we began with a pilot phase during that due to training needs for a bigger team and to take on board learnings from Excelsior. The pilot phase shutdown demand started with 4 observation points in 2022 May and expanded pilot in July to 2023, and full implementation started in September 2023. So unfortunately, there was only 1 Cape vulture fatality due to poor visibility, which was for inclement weather in the trees. There's lots of slopes at Golden Valley, and that could have definitely be a human error. And the protocol was adapted accordingly. So over 28 months of implementation, there were 206 shutdowns for priority species, 9 hours, 57 minutes of turbine shutdown time, and just 1 priority species fatality. So as you guys can see here, the map, there is 9 vantage points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I will be visiting the site at end of September. I haven't been there for a year and a half. So for Excelsior, over the 44 months of implementation, there were 1,371 successful shutdowns of 95 hours and 21 minutes of turbine shutdown time, 6 priority species fatality since 2020. For each fatality, there is a root cause analysis conducted and adjustments made to the protocol to avoid any fatalities. The success of the shutdown demand program at Excelsior, like our other wind farms, has exceeded expectations, and we anticipated that implementation would not be 100% successful and build in net gain conservation programs accordingly. That has proven to be true, but the number of fatalities that has been less than anticipated. In particular, there have been no Cape vulture fatalities, which was one of the species with the highest concern. And as the success of shutdown demand program across all wind farms has exceeded expectations, not only in terms of the number of fatalities, but also in terms of impact of energy loss revenue, and this is proven to be less than 1%. So for the training, for my people and my team, how I train them to be specialists at doing the shutdown demand. So firstly, there is the ID preparation. They conduct a monthly bird identification test where I place priority and non-priority bird species on PowerPoints, and passing rate is 80%. I also help them by giving bird ID prep tests where I give them guidance how to identify a bird in the field, give them the characteristics of each species, and also how to identify bird species that at least 250 meters above ground level. And when it comes to the conservation, red atlas species, and conservation awareness stock, so that goes hand in hand, I talk to them about the importance of shutdown demand. So my team is recruited from the local community, so they do not have any conservation background as I do. So I give them case studies on endangered species, tell them why the job is so important, keep them motivated every day. Yearly we have awards for the best monitor, how they've been doing their job throughout the years or throughout the year. And also give some insight of flight behavior and feeding so they can actually know what's going on with the bird species. When it comes to field practical tests, guys, it's one thing to see a bird in the book, and then here comes reality. The bird is doing something else. That's why I take my team into the field and I say, sharp, guys, what is that? And I don't want to hear, I don't know. I don't know that words. And my team has been doing quite well because they know me. My forehead says, don't play with me. Ha, I'm not the one. They doing well. They are strong. They are professional. If I'm 6 feet under, I know that wind farm will be running. So yeah. And lastly, I also do shutdown demand scenario tests. That's just to check their knowledge, how they actually can handle working under pressure, because we are basic Excels here, my guys. There can be a black harrier flying to turbine 4, and then all of a sudden there's 2 Cape vultures approaching turbine 1. Also, I'm checking how their knowledge on compass bearings, and also to see if they can do shutdowns if there's few non-priority species with a priority species. For example, if there's 200 African sacred ibis and there's 1 Cape vulture in that flock, will you do a shutdown or will you leave it? So I need to actually catch their mind a little bit, but my team has been doing well. I'm very proud of them. And I also make sure, if I'm not 125% comfortable with placing my team in the field, I will train them until they dream about a Cape vulture. So yeah, that is my team and they're doing well. Okay, we're almost done. Oh, excuse. So what does this require in practice shutdown demand? Resources, a fully equipped team with a supervisor, employed full-time, permanent, an extra operator to cover after hours, holidays, and weekends. So that's the control room. Full support and integration into site teams. For the infrastructure and protocols, observation points to be constructed, evaluation facilities and vehicles, very important, toilets, because my people are sitting in the field for 8 hours and they need to use the loo. And vehicles is very important whenever the weather switches up. Very high frequency radios used for communication with phone backup, coded communication with control room team, data recording by observers and data management. Lastly, training and capacity. My Afrikaans is coming back. Training and capacity building. Protocol development for guiding the program, constantly updated based on learnings. Extensive training on shutdown demand at the end. 1 year at Excelsior with practice implementation through construction until operations. Ongoing training provided to the team, both internally and by the specialist. And adaptive management, example, extensive of shifts in different seasons. So key consideration and challenges. Guys, there is definitely challenges when it comes to this program. We're not gonna lie to you. Me, I will never lie. One thing about me, I'm very loyal. Communication between monitors and operators. In the beginning, I feel like people thought that I was doing too much. Unfortunately, I'm an extra person. And there was one situation where the operator didn't hear correctly and switched off the wrong turbine. I was on the case, studying, whatever. We kumbaya at the end of the day, but there was a lessons learned. We got a radio protocol at hand. So now everyone is speaking coded communication just for the shutdown demand. So ever since 2021, there wasn't any hiccups. Efficacy of communication channels, equipment, walkie-talkies, mobile receptivity, especially in context of load shedding. Guys, do you guys remember load shedding? I don't want to say it so loudly. I'm scared it's going to come back. But when there's load shedding, it's quite hard. It's not hard. It's difficult to actually connect with the operator that's based 30 kilometers away from Excelsior. So there is a delay in the messaging, but we solved that problem. The operators come to site also during the weekends, so we communicate during via radio. So the phones is not needed, except when the operators need to be at the head office. Then we will do shutdowns via WhatsApp. Visibility issues, either caused by terrain slopes or high winds, dust. As you guys know, after harvest season, then Excelsior is not looking so cute anymore. It's just brown dust, everything. So when the wind speed is above 10 meters per second, dust does play a great role with visibility. And also the terrain slopes, there are few turbines that have blind spots, but I've implemented a gazebo observation point by turbine 5 just to cover for that particular blind spot turbines. Lengthy shifts, fatigue, boredom, and distraction. We're all human. Hi guys, to sit there for 8 hours alone. You get bored, you get fatigued, but I do tell my team what you have to do when you feel like you get tired, walk around. Oh, why? Walk around the vantage point, do stretches, do something. You know what? Jump up and down, but don't get distracted with your phone, no matter what, because they know on my forehead it says, don't play with me. Then managing a large team of monitors, all HR aspects associated with this. And when it comes to winter, it's very cold for the monitors and vice versa. When it comes to summer, it's very hot. I remember one Sunday I sat at the vantage point for 8 hours. It was 40 degrees Celsius. The Black Harriers and the Cape Vulture was living their best life outside. And I was just sitting there. I'm like, why? How can you guys do this? But we are not from the same parents, so I can't judge them. So key considerations. If this is implemented properly, it is an effective way to manage impacts on priority species with very limited impact on your returns. Like I said, unfortunately, you need to have that don't play with me mentality, but I do take people's life in considerations. I know someone is a little bit slower than the other one, but I will be there for them no matter what. This program requires a full commitment to all aspects of the program with high upfront and operational costs, requires a lot of management, logistic arrangements, monitoring, and oversight. That's where the awesome lobby comes in. It's likely not to be 100% effective, but extremely effective in one of the only options for mitigation. Compared to the other mitigation measures currently available, it is cost effective and comes with benefits of creating local employment and upskilling. And lastly, I just want to say thank you to Libby Erson for always helping me throughout this protocol, and she is my biggest supporter throughout the years. So thank you everyone for listening to me, and I will do my best to answer everyone's questions. If I can't answer it, I will put my email address there and I will email to you guys. Thank you.
Clarissa, that was absolutely amazing. Really it was. And I think certainly from my side, it's refreshing, and I'm just reading the comments here from everybody as well. Congratulations, well done, bravo. I'd just like to congratulate you on your passion and determination Kerry Volter from Volpro. We're always bumping heads about wind farms due to their impacts on vultures, but I believe we need more of you and your team at each and every active wind farm in this country. And I must echo those sentiments and the sentiments of everybody else who's expressed their congratulations to you, because as somebody who was involved, in doing these avifaunal surveys myself before starting at BirdLife, I can only understand the long hours, the skills required to try and identify these birds, and to now take that and put it into an operational, wind farm is just remarkable, and to have the success rate that you have had at NG has just been phenomenal. I'd like to invite Sam and John to just come on board as well and unmute themselves, and hopefully we can answer some of these questions that everybody has posed to the three of you. So I hope that you have your thinking caps on and that you're ready to answer some questions. And remember, everybody, although we might not be able to get to all these questions, please just make sure that you pop them in the Q&A box, and let's see how many we can get through. So I think one of the main questions that has materialized here is the shutdown process itself. So if there is a bird that's been reported in any three of the zones, how quickly does it take for the shutdown to take place? And how long does it take for the turbine blades to actually stop? And are there any costs associated for wind farms when having to, implement a shutdown?
Sorry, can you please repeat, because I was reading through the chats. I'm sorry, I'm a child, so I
It's
was
okay.
just going to
No,
apologies.
it's all comments that are well deserving and that are all aimed at you and the incredible work that you're doing. So please don't apologize. The question is that when it comes to having to shut down the turbines based on a bird sighting, are there any costs involved, and how quickly can those turbines come to a halt?
Regarding the cost involved for
For
what particular?
for implementing a shutdown. So
Shall I come in on this one? Because
Yeah.
so the answer is actually that the actual cost, the lost revenue from a shutdown is really low. You're probably talking about less than 1% of the annual
Yes.
revenue from a wind farm. It's in the order of the error. So that's not the real costs. Come through the hard work that Clarissa and her team are doing. It's setting the team up, maintaining the team, doing the training, and so on. But the actual length, there was a slide that Clarissa actually showed where it showed the number of shutdowns that have happened. And I think it was around 1,400 shutdowns over about 900 hours. So actually, each shutdown is lasting for a little less than 5 minutes. And it takes about 43 seconds, less than a minute, to shut the turbines down. You have to do it carefully, as Clarissa would confirm. Because these are very, very expensive pieces of kit, and so it's really important that the operators are part of the process here. So the observers will instruct the shutdown, but the operators have a really important job to do in braking the turbines safely, quickly enough to protect the birds, but slowly enough not to damage the turbines. So it's quite a sophisticated process, this, that takes real teamwork.
Yes, and also to answer the last question, it takes 43 seconds in total from communicating and also putting in the passwords to stop the turbines, so 43 seconds in total.
Excellent. So I think that answers that. Thanks, John and Clarissa. I think that's very insightful. It's not all that long actually at all for these turbines to come to a halt. And if you've got quality observers such as the people forming part of Clarissa's team, in an ideal world, Clarissa, I mean, you'd obviously want them to pick these birds up before they even reach a sort of critical zone. That way, that 43 seconds or 40 odd seconds it takes to shut turbines down. By the time the birds come with anywhere near these turbines, they would have been shut down long ago already.
Yes, but there are with my beloved black harriers, there are few situations where they catch something that's in the canola field. So my team actually don't see them when, especially when they're in terrain slopes. So when they catch something and they go upwards, that 43 seconds feels like 2 hours. Yeah.
So yeah, I can imagine. Again, it's really amazing because there's very few I think wind farms and people out there really who have a passion for the birds the way that you have. I know Sam and John mentioned it before we started tonight's webinar, but it's been magnificent seeing and hearing how passionate you are and simply how you refer to your team and the birds. It's phenomenal. Um, in terms of how long the turbines are shut down for, is it for as long as the birds are within sort of the red zone? Or when do these turbines then ultimately come back online?
Okay, so I tell my team until they're in the yellow zone, so that's 3 kilometers away, where they actually you just see a speck. That's when they have to start the turbine because they can change direction, they will come back. Especially with the black area, I saw that personally. They will be more than 2 kilometers away, then it will change direction and come back and go to the other side of the wind farm. So I tell my team until you see a speck, then you start the turbine.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I mean that makes all the sense. And tying into your team and all the incredible work and training that you're doing, I see there's a question here for the observation times and they're posted at observation points at a vantage point. I know you made mention of it being 8 hours, but somebody here has asked, does it not bear reference to maybe have them, in accordance with seasons? So obviously we have longer hours in summer, and shorter in
Yeah.
winter. So what's the position in terms of that, Clarissa, as a matter of interest?
Okay, so we do have seasonal times. Um, it's breaking up in shifts. So one team will start 7 till 3, and then the other team will come in 10 till 6. Um, we are looking into the future to actually extend these hours. But for now, it's still with head office and management. But for now, we're doing 2 shifts, 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. During the winter season, when there's not actually lots of activity, we used to work just one shift, and that's 8 till 5, a 9 hour shift. But after this year, with the influx of black harriers, we remained with the double shift throughout the year.
Okay. All right.
And that was during May. So my team was on site when it was dark and cold. Hi, guys. But we're still doing the double shifts.
Amazing, amazing, and kudos. I mean, again, everybody attending this talk, I don't think one can properly. I mean, we've all been out in the field busy birding, especially in winter and the high veld and some of the colder parts of South Africa, the Karoo and those open central areas and interior, and it gets pretty cold. Now you've got somebody who's in the field and literally from before sunrise, but from sunrise even is when it gets the coldest. And we're talking minus temperatures here, sub-zero. It is absolutely freezing. You can barely turn the focus wheel on your binoculars. And at the end of the day, Clarissa and her team just form part of the individuals who are ultimately here doing that, going through the most, Clarissa, to make sure that that they can ultimately serve the birds, if I can put it like that. An interesting question here, which I see. Um, Please advise if wind farm operators who don't practice shutdown on demand are obliged legally to do so in terms of EIA approvals, for instance, and then also to monitor and report fatalities. I don't know, Sam and John, if you want to speak to this as well, maybe.
Sure. I'll dive in here. Just apologies, for some reason I can't switch my video on, and I'm suspecting that other panelists have the same problem.
We do.
So the short, well, actually no, the long answer is it all depends on what was the recommendations and conditions of the environmental authorization. So unfortunately, some projects that were approved 2010, 2011, when, or even a few years ago when shutdown on demand wasn't as mainstream as it is now, it's not an obligation. But we are increasingly trying to ensure that the wind farms obligations are standardized, that we allow enough flexibility to learn as new mitigation options become available, but also ensure that wind farms are committing to no net loss of threatened species. So it's a mixed bag. The good news that one thing we have got right in South Africa is that all wind farms do monitor and report on their impacts. One of the big challenges we have is oversight and enforcement, where even where there are legal obligations that they need to, for example, implement shutdown on demand, not all wind farms are doing it when they should, and they're not all doing it as fantastically as Clarissa and her team are doing it. So there are some serious challenges that we need to fix in South Africa still. But I mean, while I've got the floor, maybe just to Clarissa, you're doing such an amazing job, and I think a lot of it has to do with your passion and the passion of NGE and your colleagues. How do you think we can replicate that at other wind farms, given that we have challenges with oversight and enforcement?
Sam, just to answer that one, I believe how NGOs can help is just to help the IPPs to improve their mitigation program by sharing their knowledge to us to be more vigilant during certain seasons and also certain breeding seasonal activities. I know Dr. Odette and Dr. Robert, also Albert Vorneman, they've been helping us a lot throughout the shutdown demand process. So I just want to say thank you to them, but just to give them the awesome knowledge to help us through that. So that's the best I can answer on your question.
Amazing. Thanks, Clarissa, and thanks, Sam, for posing that question. Apologies, everybody. Again, just like I mentioned, the technical glitches, and I appreciate everybody understanding. Sam, I have just changed the setting now. You should be able to turn your video on in the event that you would like. There we go. Thank you so much. Apologies, everybody. Yeah, John, there we go. Look at that. Everybody is now fortunate enough to see everybody's faces and put names to faces. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. That was a setting on my side. So thank you everybody for understanding. Then I think another thing which is quite prominent in the Q&As here is the bicolored turbine blades. I know that was a hot topic of discussion in the press recently, and especially over social media. It was this massive discovery. All of a sudden, we can change the color of one blade. What is the impact on that, and specifically, its relevance insofar as preventing bird collisions is concerned?
Shall I come in on this one first, Sam, and you're happy to add? I mean, what appears to be the case is that by painting one blade, certainly not all the blades, but one blade partially, it helps the birds to see what the blades are ahead of them. I mean, I always compare it to the same effect as if you look at a bicycle wheel when it's turning. It's very difficult to see the spokes unless you've painted some of the spokes, in which case it becomes much easier because it helps you deal with what's called motion smear. And there is increasing evidence. It's not 100% conclusive, but it's very good evidence that painting one of the blades on a turbine does really aid certain raptors, vultures, eagles, and so on to see these blades, and so avoid the risk of minimize the risk of collision. It's been tested in one farm at Hopefield in South Africa, with initial results being very promising. And it is now being more widely rolled out in South Africa. And we've been working with SOWIA to help develop the guidelines which will help this be undertaken more widely. So it is good news. It's worth pointing out, however, David, it's not a panacea. Simply painting wind turbine blades is not going to remove the problem. We will need a combination of mitigation. So I could see a situation where you will have blades, wind farms which have painted blades, and also have shutdown on demand and carcass removal. It will be a combination of these issues which will really help tackle the problem. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Sam, or whether I've covered it.
I think you covered it well. Maybe just to say that there are some sort of practical challenges to blade patterning. It's not without its costs, particularly if a wind farm is already operational. And something that we've been working with the South African Wind Energy Association to resolve is challenges with civil aviation regulations, which has proved to be a very long process, but we're hoping that we're getting there. And yeah, just the question around the effectiveness. So the one study was in Norway, and we've got some promising results that Rob Simmons was involved in a study in South Africa. But we don't know yet whether it's going to be effective for all species. For example, I'm concerned particularly with species like vultures that don't necessarily see in the direction that they're flying in. So it's a little too soon to crack open the champagne, but it would be fantastic if it does work.
So I just want to quickly come in here, Sam, because I'd hate people to go away and think that the Civil Aviation Authority was a problem here. I think this is actually a really good example of a public-private partnership where SOWIA, together with BirdLife South Africa, approached the South African CAA because we realised that the regulations which were being enforced and were clearly there, I mean, there's no question that they were enforcing the rules as they were written, needed to be changed. The CAA were very happy to listen, and they did issue what's called an alternative means of compliance, which allows for the blade painting to be implemented. So I think this is actually a good story about government listening to the private sector and the not-for-profit sector and doing something.
100%. Thanks, John. I didn't mean to give that impression.
Thanks to the both of you. It's really insightful just hearing the comments and the expertise flowing here, and oh man, this is just what's made me so excited about becoming a co-host for this series, because I mean I try and learn so much every single day about as much as possible when it comes to conservation, and having the opportunity to hear straight from the mouths of the likes of the three of you is just fantastic. And I see so many people in the comments are feeling the same. I think one of the other questions here is with regards to audio sounds. So has there been any kind of attempt to sort of have turbines generate some other kind of audio frequency, which could potentially deter birds, maybe changing the shape? Rob Simmons, you mentioned him, Sam. He actually just commented, suggested, are there possibilities to feather turbines? So turn the blades into increase the noise of the blade. Is this something that could be considered going forward? And linked to that is another question as well, which bears reference to technology and the age of AI, artificial intelligence. Is there not perhaps a model that might be created going forward? Maybe it's in the works already, that speaks to an automated shutdown based on AI, maybe even sonar detection.
Okay, but well, first, there are two types of shutdown on demand. We've been talking very specifically about observer-led shutdown on demand this evening, because that's what's been implemented to date in South Africa. There are automated shutdown on demand systems that make use of camera technology and also radar technology. They are at the trial phase in South Africa, and we could spend a whole another hour talking about the different technologies. So all I would say is it is work in progress. There is use being made of AI to assist the learnings of these systems. As I say, it's a whole separate subject. I think over the next 2 or 3 years, we are going to see wind farms testing automated SDOD in South Africa. Let's see what the results are like. Just on the point about sound, people have tried using sound to warn birds, and so there is some evidence they work a bit, but one of the real problems is that birds get habituated to sound, and so, as I say, there's some evidence they might work for a bit, but do they work in the long run? The jury is still very much out on that. On the feathering point, I think you might run into issues around long-term maintenance of an operation of the blades. And you might run into problems with the warranties. But Rob, I think it's an area that probably will be explored further.
Excellent. Thanks, John. That's yeah, again, very, very insightful. Another popular trend before we start looking at wrapping up, and again, the questions are flooding in. So thank you so much, everybody. And listen, if we don't get around to answering your questions this evening, please don't feel despondent. I'm going to encourage everybody who perhaps didn't have their question answers to get into contact with Sam and John, and you can get the details off of our BirdLife South Africa website, and to chat to them. They are, I have no doubt, Sam and John, I'm signing you up for consultations here with participants, but I have no doubt they are willingly going to give their time to answer any questions that you might have. That's our job here at BirdLife South Africa. We're here to help educate people as much as possible and get feedback from the public as well. So please, please, please don't leave your questions unanswered. Another one of the questions that I just wanted to get to was who covers the payments of Clarissa's and her amazing team? Who funds initiatives like this? And is there a reason why perhaps some wind farms aren't as up to date and current as Clarissa and NG and what they're busy doing?
Shall I again? The simple answer is that it is the wind farms will be paying for covering the costs, but then ultimately those costs need to be reflected into the tariffs. So where the shutdown on demand system has been built into the financial models when they set the tariffs, then the answer is actually all of us who are energy users are actually paying for this. The issue, and Sam touched on it a little earlier, I think, is that where you find that after you've been running your turbines for a couple of years, you have a problem and you need to introduce shutdown on demand. The question is, have they allowed for the cost of that in the financing that's been allocated to this project? And therefore, is the cost of doing this reflected in the tariffs? And that's a whole different issue, the economics of this. And one of the things that we are working with industry and we want to work with the funders as well, is to make sure that there is enough contingency built into these projects up front to allow for the introduction of shutdown on demand should it prove to be needed as you start post-construction monitoring.
Excellent. So hopefully that answers some. There were a couple of questions in line with that. They wanted to know who was funding Clarissa and her amazing efforts. So thanks for clarifying that, John. I think everybody started panicking in that Clarissa and her team may disappear at some stage in the event that there was a lack of funding. So hopefully everybody can sleep well this evening. Clarissa, I have no doubt, will be around for some time. But yeah, I think everybody. I think if there's no further questions or comments really from Sam, John, and Clarissa, I mean, I think we can start to wrap up. But from my side, I think what's important is that we're very quick to certainly what I've seen is that people are very quick to shun renewable energy when it comes to the impact that it has on the environment. And I think what's important to keep in mind here is that BirdLife South Africa and the team that is Sam and John are trying their best here to work with the various stakeholders and to mitigate. If there was one word that I had learned throughout my involvement, albeit very brief, within the renewable energy sort of sphere, was the term mitigate. And the bottom line is, as a country, we are in a major electricity crisis. And we need to move away from fossil fuels. And that's why we need to look at renewable energy. But we keep in mind the fact that there are potential conservation crises that await in the dark. And if we don't mitigate and we don't address those, and we make sure that there's a good outcome for both sides, then there can be potential catastrophic implications. And that's what Sam and John and Clarissa and her amazing team are busy doing here. So from my side to the three of you, a massive, massive, massive thank you on behalf of all the 300 plus members who attended this evening. We greatly appreciate everything that you do as colleagues and professionals within the industry. And I cannot but implore you to continue to do the incredible work that you're busy doing. So thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, indeed.
You.
And
John,
thank
can you just
Clarissa.
enable my camera? I just want to say good night to everyone so that they can see I'm still alive.
Let me make that a setting. All right, you should be able to show us all the face that has kept us in suspense the whole evening as everybody awaiting the grand reveal.
Good night, everyone, and thank you once again, BirdLife,
Thanks
for this
again, Clarissa.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for in the comments, for all the love. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Good
Clarissa.
night.
Thank you very much, everybody. Sam, John, Clarissa, have a fantastic evening. Everybody enjoy the rest of the slides. And yes, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us, birdlifesouthafrica.org.za. Until the next episode of Conservation Conversations, have a lovely evening and good night from us at BirdLife South Africa.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.